Good morning, everyone. Hope I don't know how it's in your place. In our place in Toronto right now, it's quite rainy. It's Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys for joining for the live stream today. This is day number 5. I have a pleasure to have Steve today. We will talk about oversharing on social media. Steve, can you please tell us about yourself?
Hi, my name is Steve Driz. I've been in IT and cybersecurity for over 25 years now, give or take a few. It doesn't make me old; it makes me experienced. And so at this stage, I'm focusing on several initiatives and several startups. But my core business is cybersecurity consulting. And that's what I'm focusing on. With main emphasis is on, of course, is on compliance. That's the claim to fame. That's just a little bit about me.
Great, thank you. So this is month of October. This is month of security awareness, and we bring different topics, and every day we bring a different guest. So Steve, we want to focus today on oversharing on social media. So let's define social media first. In your mind, what is social media?
Well, social media is a set of tools that allows you to communicate online. And it could be anything from, again, on the subject, it could be anything from personal communications with friends and family, with the outside world, meaning expressing your opinions and or exchanging ideas. And at the same time, there's a professional aspect to it.
Okay, so LinkedIn is more professional. Facebook.
LinkedIn is an example. Zing is a professional. Well, Facebook actually could be both, right? Some people use Facebook to promote their personal brand to the masses. And also lately, people have been using TikTok and Instagram as a professional tool as well.
So this is interesting point, and we're gonna dive in there as well. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so one of the advantages and the reason why people use it is because those platforms allow you to also advertise, and they're very good. Some of them are very good at narrowing down your audience, right? Similar to LinkedIn. So that is primarily why businesses turn to those platforms, and not just businesses, but a lot of technical professionals are on it. A lot of designers and creative people are on these platforms. So it's now a blend between social media for your personal life that supports your personal life and your communication with friends and family, and something that you can also utilize to advance your business goals.
Can you provide example of what oversharing on social media mean? And we can dive into personal and professional as well.
Right. So oversharing is when people post. I mean, oversharing starts with an emotional drive of some sort, right? You have either positive or negative emotions from time to time. And then without even thinking, you jump into social, excuse me, and you start sharing that information with the world. And you never know, excuse me, and you never know what content is going to be out there, where it's going to be. So for example, several politicians posted certain information on their Instagram channels. That information was then taken by someone and reposted to the public. And that's what I mean by oversharing, is that you don't think about consequences of what information you put out there. There's too much personal information. So for example, when you post on Facebook and your profile is not private, as an example, or you accept too many friends, you pretty much accept any friend request because you want to have as many friends as possible. You post information about your home, you post information about your family. That includes, where you live, where you travel, all your habits, and so on and so forth. And for a cyber criminal, it's not a problem to take that information and piece it together very, very quickly. And that's, go ahead.
Yeah, you bring an interesting point. It's not just piece of information, it's a combination of information. Because if I have your address, it's
pretty
bad.
much,
but if I know you
it's your
possibly going
complete
on
life.
vacation, in complete life, but if I know your address and I know you now on vacation as well, then it's become even worse, because the criminals can know, okay, you're on vacation. It's not just the bad guys over the internet, the hackers. It's just the physical criminals can just go and kind of get into your house because they know for sure you're not home.
That's right. And you also, they know what car you drive because people photograph themselves in their cars, so they know if it's something that is worthwhile taking advantage of. They know, like I said, they know names of your dogs and cats, which allows them to piece together and figure out your passwords, your online passwords, because people, we always choose convenience, almost always choose convenience over security, or over common sense. So that's in my view is oversharing.
What will you recommend for private people, but also for professional as well? Some people post on Facebook, as you mentioned, because they're trying to potentially publicize their business and trying to move their business forward, so they're kind of sharing their life. What will be your recommendations in both scenarios?
So in those scenarios, I would suggest or would recommend separating your personal social media profiles from your professional. So, for example, certain content, and again, it's common sense for some people, and for some people it's not, is that personal information is not as often posted on LinkedIn. Why do you think that is? And I think that's because people do realize that LinkedIn is the platform for professionals. And sharing, but again, some people share personal information on LinkedIn as well. So decoupling it and having separate presence, and let's say close profile, again, that's what I recommend. Close profile for your friends and family, and public profile for your professional, to represent you professional.
Great. What if we talk about teenagers and kids? Kids and teenagers right now also want to have Facebook and Instagram. What would you recommend to parents to do to still give them some freedom, but kind of put a guidelines on this freedom?
So I think that it's all about awareness and education. You cannot make someone do something for no reason. They need to understand why. Like if you ask your children or family members to do something or not to do something, you have to give them a good reason. You have to explain it, right? You have to educate them and say, okay, so you do understand that there are consequences for me if you do this online, right? And for the rest of the family. So they need to be aware. We're building awareness is key.
Great. For everyone that's listening right now, feel free to ask questions right now live, or ask questions later on of me or Steve. It's on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch as well this week. And if any of you want to come live to the show, let us know here in the comments, and we'll figure out how we can bring you live to share your information as well. I think it's definitely important topic for the adults of us, seniors, and kids as well. I personally spend time with my kids to explain about Facebook, explain what we can or cannot share, and why it's not a good idea to share the address, the phone number, and some of the pictures. And if you, for example, even put a picture of the car, make sure there's no license plate there, and many other things. So let's dive in maybe to some safeguards for teenagers. Do you familiar with any of the idea on how you can potentially monitor or help the parents to monitor the kids, again, without being too invasive?
Well, one of the things you absolutely need to do if you know that your children have presence on certain social networks, become their friend on those networks, meaning that it doesn't impede on their privacy, but at the same time, at least you have an idea as to what they share, right? And even if you're not friends, if you're on TikTok or Instagram, just follow them. So you get the kind of information, you can see the kind of information that they sharing with the world. And again, have an honest conversation if something is completely out of line. Again, explaining why is very, very important, because otherwise they just don't know, right? They unaware. They
So
think that
communication.
communication is key. So if you're saying, well, don't photograph the car with the VIN number, or the license plate, or don't take pictures of our house or things inside the house, like, I don't know, whatever it is, right? They still gonna do certain things, and they still gonna take videos and post them online. But again, if you need to be aware of it, so try following them, not for the purpose of taking away their privacy, but for the purpose of knowing what's happening online.
In a cybersecurity world, we have tabletop exercise when we pretend, or we take a topic and we run this topic to say what if. And I think
Yes.
it's a good idea to do the same with the kids, teenagers, or anybody else, to say what if. What if some strange person talking to you, or if somebody asks you for XYZ, what will you do? So come up with scenarios and understand what they will do. Like my kids play Roblox a lot, for example. So I
Yeah.
was explaining to them, like, okay, what if somebody asking you for money for Roblox, or somebody asking you for more information? What would they do? And apparently the good part that they're also learning right now at school about social media as well. So there is some change.
Yeah. I think it makes perfect sense, because like I said, it's not what they know today. It's what they need to know. They need to know that the world is not just mom and dad and family that cares about them. There are people in the world that trying to take advantage of other people. They're criminals. They're cyber criminals. And the more information we make available to them, the easier it is to circumvent certain, again, in our language, certain controls, right?
Yeah.
And and those controls, circumvention of those controls, can lead to, a kid posted something online, and then it leads to business email compromise, and that leads to a massive data breach. And that happened.
True.
That happened before, and it will happen again.
And I want to bring it back to passwords, by the way, because a lot of the time you see on Facebook, if you see message requests from me, or I send you this, it wasn't me, my account got compromised, got hacked by somebody.
Yes.
And it basically, I want to bring back to passwords. All these platforms, Instagram, Facebook, have an options to create what we call MFA, multi-factor authentication, with your phone or with some other device, that will prevent the bad guys in most of the cases to get hold of your account. So it's not just oversharing, because the moment somebody get your account, then you see your messages or commercials on your account when you usually see yoga or recipes or something else that you usually follow a certain person. especially for the professional people. They're sometimes so busy with posting they don't realize something bad happened with their account and somebody else using their account for other advantage.
Yep. Yeah, it's true. And so you can also, and I know a few kids personally. My daughter is an example, and some of the other family members that they in their teens, and they do use MFA, and because they know that their accounts were compromised, they came to me or came to their parents, and they said, "Look, someone took over my account." They were able, in some instances, to get it back. In some instances, they had to create a new account. And then I always recommended, they said, look, it's very simple to set it up, right? Like you can use multi-factor, and it will mitigate the risk of the account takeover in the future. And they all do that because it's simple, right? It's you put user ID and password, get the code off of your mobile, and off you go.
True. Another interesting part about social media, you really want to read about the rights on what you're posting.
Yes.
As far as I know, if I put a picture on Facebook, and I think I took an amazing picture, and I'm very proud of this picture, and I want to sell this picture later on, for example, and I share this picture on Facebook and tell all my friends, guys, look on this amazing picture. The reality of this is that I don't know that I didn't read it lately on Facebook, but last time I read it, basically the moment I put something on Facebook, Facebook owned the right to this picture. So the moment I do this and then I'm trying to sell and say this is my picture, I may be in trouble because it's actually not my picture anymore. Facebook has the rights. And I don't know if you have any information about this.
Yeah, so I've looked at Facebook agreement, and lately I've looked at TikTok agreement. And that's the most brutal one, whereby if someone really sits down and reads it, there's no way you're going to create an account on TikTok. I guarantee you that.
Can you share some? I didn't read the account. I don't have an account, so.
And the problem, and they pretty much own all the content, right? All the content is branded with TikTok, right? They have their own, even if you advertise and you upload a video on TikTok, and I'm not certain about ads. However, according to their terms of use, if you advertise and you let TikTok optimize your ads, video ads, you know how it is, right? So with little jumpy and with their logo, then at that point your commercial assets also belong to them, right? So if someone reposts it, or people can do whatever they want unless you explicitly tell them not to allow reposting, as an example, right? Which defeats the purpose. Pretty much, it defeats the purpose of TikTok, right? So if I can't repost it and I can't do anything with it, if I'm running an ad and I'm trying to convince you to buy a furnace, as an example, right? I'm trying to convince you to buy Nike shoes, then I want you to reshare, right? I want you to spread it around, and I want you to let as many people as possible know that that's available. So people have to be careful, and I'm talking about, well, on personal use perhaps is less important. However, I do encourage people to read at least some of it to understand what they're getting into when they create an account and start sharing. And on the professional side, so if you use it professionally, if you advertise on those platforms, definitely read it. Definitely read it before you do, and definitely have your legal team look at it.
We have a question. So we have Mike asking about a language that you can use on Facebook about account takedowns for impersonation. Yeah.
To use language that allows to outsource Facebook account takedowns. I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah, same here. Is any right of use of language
the right
allows
use
you
of
to
language.
outsource? So there's a couple of companies that help you with account takedowns, like Zero Folks and some, I know
Right.
Proofpoint has as well. But usually
Right.
doing somebody else impersonate you, they will do this. I guess Mike is asking, what do you need to use to in your account to prove that it's you and take down other accounts? Mike, maybe you can ask this again, or kind of help us to understand exactly what's the question. And I know there's a bit of a delay when it go to LinkedIn, so let's see when Mike will get it and answer the question. In general, you need to get to a certain point that you can ask and somebody else will take down somebody else's account. In majority of the cases on Facebook, if you see somebody else is using your name, you can just open a ticket and help desk. I know people did it in the past. You don't need any other particular service. It's become more
Right.
problematic when you want to do it in multiple accounts, or you get to a trajectory of, we have millions of people following you. But if it's us, normal people, then it's usually opening a ticket and help, and the help will fix the problem. I don't know people that did it.
Yeah.
Other languages. Let's see if Mike gonna ask anything else. Anybody else has a question about this? I'm wondering. Account takedown are quite important in my mind as well, because we don't want somebody to
Very important.
impersonate us.
Well, yeah, because people impersonate again. People impersonate other people, not only on Facebook but also on LinkedIn, and we
There
see
was a
it.
big story about the
There was a
CISOs.
big
You want to talk about
story.
this?
Yeah, yeah. There's a big story about CISO of a large corporation. I understand we're not using names of companies on air.
Yeah.
So fairly large corporation, and yeah, it was well done. It was well done because people were connecting to that person. Because again, when you're busy with your day, it all comes down to emotion. When you're busy with your day and you constantly doing something, jumping from task to task, or you're talking to too many people, whatever it is that you do, you don't have time to stop and think about every invitation to social media or about every email you open. Right? That's how people get caught. That's how ransomware is disseminated. Here's an email with sense of urgency. Here's a message from LinkedIn, as an example, right? By someone who you might know. And people, you don't have time to every time to stop and think. No one does. I mean, maybe a few people do, but I know that people that work, they probably don't.
Fair. Meanwhile, people that watching, we're gonna have another show tomorrow, and we're gonna have more shows next week. I put a link here that you can find the next shows. Tomorrow we're gonna talk about how me and Michael Brownell started in cybersecurity, and next week we're gonna talk about many other different interesting things. There's also a link there to the two podcasts, Cyber Inspiration, the podcast I run about motivation of founders start their own cybersecurity companies, and Security Architecture podcast that I run with Dimitri Reitman about technology and vendor and how they integrate and their architecture in general. Very cool show. We've been doing with Dimitri for the last 2.5 years. And of course, the links to anything else. Steve, meanwhile, where people can find you as well, if they want to ask a question, maybe you can share. I think if you're watching on LinkedIn, you could definitely see the profile. And if it's on Facebook, then you can probably follow up there and find your name as well. You guys have questions?
So the best way to get a hold of me is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It's again, just Google. You can Google it. If you type Steve Driz LinkedIn, my profile will come up. And I will be happy to accept an invite again after some degree of screening, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Steve. Anything else you want to add?
Oh, it was a good discussion. It's not, we could go and probably talk about it for hours if we had a chance to do that. We'll be happy. Thanks a lot for inviting me. We'll be happy to join you again.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you very much. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. as well. And Steve, thank you for your bright and good ideas and for the advice as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Evgeny. Have a good one. Bye.